Welcome. Today, we are about to embark on a journey that will take us 2,000 years back into the world of the Roman Empire. This was a civilization that ruled vast parts of Europe, Africa, and Asia. But today, our story is not about emperors, generals, or great battles. Instead, we will look into the everyday lives of ordinary people: farmers, laborers, merchants, and their families. What did they eat? What was placed on their tables each day? And how did food reflect their culture and their identity? Just imagine, it is morning in a small Roman village. The sun has just risen, the fields are quiet, and a farmer sits outside his modest home. On a wooden table before him lies a coarse loaf of bread made from heavy flour. Beside it, a pinch of salt and a small bowl of water. This is his breakfast. Sometimes, if fortune smiles, there may be a few olives or a piece of dried fruit. But most days, the meal is plain and simple. And yet, this simplicity is what gives him strength. During the day, as the farmer works in his fields, he carries with him a small sack. Inside are pieces of dried bread, perhaps a little vegetable stew. For the poor in Rome, vegetables and legumes formed the heart of the diet. Onions, cabbages, carrots, lentils, these were the staples. Meat was rare. It appeared only on special days, festivals, or when luck provided. In the cities, life was slightly different. The streets were filled with small shops and markets. These stalls were the fast food joints of ancient Rome. People in a hurry stopped to buy a quick meal: a piece of roasted fish, a bowl of hot broth, or bread dipped in olive oil. Workers, travelers, and passers-by ate here to satisfy their hunger and then moved on. The middle class, artisans, traders, soldiers, ate a little better. Their tables sometimes included cheese, eggs, and on occasion, meat. On festive days, they enjoyed honeyed milk, dried grapes, or meals flavored with imported spices. For them, food was not just about filling the stomach. It was also about enjoying taste and celebrating moments. And then, there was the world of the wealthy. Step inside the grand villas and you would see a completely different picture. Roman elites lived in luxury, and their meals reflected that. Breakfasts included milk, honey, and fine fruits. At midday or evening, tables were covered with exotic dishes: peacocks, venison, pigeons, and rare fish. Spices and goods flowed in from every corner of the empire. Grain from Egypt, olive oil from Greece, and spices from the East. For the rich, food was not only nourishment, it was a display of wealth, of power, of prestige. Their feasts were filled with music, performances, and endless conversation. A meal was an event in itself. Drinks, too, were essential. For common people, water was the standard. Sometimes it was mixed with vinegar or herbs to add flavor. For the wealthy, wine was the drink of choice. But they rarely drank it pure, it was always diluted with water. Honey, spices, or herbs were often added, making it richer in taste and aroma. Mealtimes followed a rhythm. Romans generally ate 3 main meals a day. Breakfast was light, often eaten in haste. Lunch, around midday, was the largest meal with stews, vegetables, and perhaps some meat. Dinner in the evening was more relaxed, often shared with family. Among the elites, however, dinner turned into a grand feast. It could last for hours, accompanied by music, poetry, and endless discussion. Roman food tells us much about their society. The poor lived on simple, earthy meals: bread, vegetables, and broth. The middle class enjoyed a little more variety, a little more flavor. And the wealthy dined in extravagance, turning meals into spectacles of power and luxury. When we look back now, we see that food was more than survival in the Roman Empire. It was culture. It was status. It was a way of life. Every bite reflected the empire's agriculture, its economy, and its social divisions. And as you drift toward sleep, just picture it for a moment. A Roman farmer, sitting with his children, a loaf of bread on the table, a small bowl of vegetable stew beside it. No noise, no luxury, just a simple, quiet meal, the kind that carried strength and the kind that carried peace. The same peace you are seeking right now. The table is set simple or luxurious, depending on the household. Food was not just meant to satisfy hunger. It also reflected status, etiquette, and social customs. In Roman life, the rules of the dining table were so important that order and structure were seen in every detail. Roman daily meals show us how life was divided in society. Poor farmers would start their day with simple bread and water. At noon, they would eat lentils, vegetables, and sometimes a bit of cheese. Meat was rare, but roasted fish or olives could occasionally be found in local markets. These simple meals not only provided energy, but also gave structure and calm to daily life. Now let us explore one of the most fascinating aspects of Roman dining: seating arrangements and table etiquette. In wealthy households, the dining room, called the Triclinium, had 3 couches arranged around a low table. The most honored guest or head of the household would sit in the central position. Less important guests or family members would take the side couches. Even in modest homes, hierarchy mattered. The father or eldest male usually sat at the head, while others took seats according to age and status. Table manners were equally important. Most food was eaten with the fingers, though spoons were used for soups or stews. Elbows on the table were considered improper for respectable guests. Conversation was calm and gentle, usually focused on family, daily life, or philosophical topics. Even simple meals were seen as opportunities to connect and teach manners. Roman meals often involved multiple courses. In ordinary households, a starter of vegetables or bread would be followed by a stew or lentils. Wealthy Romans enjoyed several courses, exotic meats, and imported spices. Eating was a slow process. People reclined on couches, listened to music, and at special feasts watched performers entertain the guests. Drinks were essential at every meal. Common people drank water, sometimes mixed with vinegar or herbs to enhance flavor. The wealthy drank wine, always diluted with water. Honey or spices were often added to improve taste and aroma. There were rules even for drinking. Social toasts were customary, and overindulgence was frowned upon during formal meals. Social rituals were an integral part of dining. Even in small homes, a prayer or offering would be made to the household gods before eating. Guests and family learned respect, hierarchy, and the art of conversation. The presentation of food and decoration of dishes also showed respect for the guests. Roman dining was not only about nourishment but also about social identity and status. The meals of poor farmers reflected simplicity and labor. The middle class enjoyed some variety and flavor, and the meals of the wealthy displayed luxury and power. All of this reflected not just food culture but the history, society, and traditions of Rome. Now, let us look at the timing of meals in Roman life. Romans generally ate 3 main meals a day. Breakfast, which was light and eaten quickly. Lunch, the largest meal of the day, including stews, vegetables, and occasionally meat. Dinner, eaten more leisurely with the family. In the homes of the wealthy, dinner could turn into a grand feast. It could last for hours, accompanied by music, stories, and entertainment. Meals were not only about sustenance but also about strengthening social bonds, learning etiquette, and reinforcing hierarchy. When we reflect on all of this, it becomes clear that Roman food was much more than just eating. It was culture, tradition, and identity. Every bite, every course, every seat, and every small ritual reflected Roman social life and society. And now, as you drift towards sleep, imagine a small Roman home, a family sitting quietly at a simple table, a loaf of bread, a small bowl of stew. No noise, no display of wealth, just the calm comfort of food and companionship. The same calm that centuries ago Romans experienced at the end of their day, and the same calm you can feel even now. Imagine yourself walking through the streets of ancient Rome. The market lanes are bustling, small stalls everywhere, and the aroma of soups and roasted foods fills the air. This is where ordinary people, laborers, and travelers bought quick and affordable meals. This was the Roman street food, similar to today's fast food, but in its time it was an essential and everyday part of life. The most common snack was bread, thick, coarse bread available at every stall. Sometimes with olive oil or a pinch of salt, sometimes with a bit of vegetables or cheese. People would take pieces of bread and eat them with a small portion of lentils or soup purchased from the market. Simple yet energizing, this food was necessary to sustain a long day of labor. These small meals not only filled the stomach but also provided comfort and energy for daily life. Occasionally, the market offered roasted fish, small pieces of meat, or dried fruits. These items were affordable for ordinary people and had become a regular part of their daily routine. Children would sit by the stalls and enjoy these snacks. These small bites not only satisfied hunger, but also brought joy and calm to everyday life. One remarkable aspect of Roman street food was that it was quick and convenient. People ate it during work breaks or while traveling. These meals were not only for nourishment, but also played a role in social interactions and daily routines. In the market lanes, people not only ate but also met others, listened to fresh news, and shared stories. These small gatherings were an essential part of Roman social life. Small bowls of lentil soup or vegetables, olives, cheese, or small honey-coated treats. All of this was simple yet sufficient for energy and nutrition. Market stalls were usually small, made of wood or stone. Vendors would sell prepared food from morning until evening. People would stand around each stall, some eating quickly, some sitting calmly and chatting. These small gatherings were not just for satisfying hunger but also served as social spaces. Romans maintained order and cleanliness even in street food. The food was simple but hygienic. Stalls were often decorated with small dishes made of clay or metal. The presentation and cleanliness of food, whether simple soup or roasted fish, symbolized respect and quality. Eating habits provided calm and rhythm to daily life. Laborers would eat small snacks after morning work. Travelers would buy quick food while on the road. Children would nibble on nuts or bread in between play. These small moments were part of daily Roman life, reminding us centuries later of the simplicity and reality of life in Rome. Street food also reflected culture and identity. Every snack, every stall, and every small gathering was part of social life. It showed how simplicity, convenience, and small moments of joy were essential in daily life. On special occasions, the market offered unique treats. During festivals, religious ceremonies, or local fairs, people would buy special snacks. These occasions were separate from daily routines and added happiness and social meaning. Children, laborers, and even some members of the middle class eagerly awaited these special treats. Now imagine joining an ordinary Roman family for their street meal. A small bowl of soup, a few pieces of bread, and some olives or dried fruits. Simple, calm, and part of everyday life. These meals provided not just physical energy but also mental comfort and peace. And as you drift towards sleep, imagine a laborer in a Roman street, tired after a long day, enjoying a small snack. Children eating pieces of bread and honey in between their games. Simple, calm, and part of the rhythm of daily life. Just as centuries ago, Romans experienced small moments of peace in their daily routines. Imagine stepping into the grand halls of a wealthy Roman villa. The room is vast, filled with the soft flicker of oil lamps. The table stretches long, covered with dishes that glisten in the warm light. This is not the humble meal of a farmer or the quick snack of a market-goer. This is a Roman banquet, a feast designed to impress, celebrate, and show the power and wealth of the host. The aroma of roasted meats, spiced fish, and baked pastries fills the air. Guests recline on couches around the table, leaning on cushions as they enjoy multiple courses. The most honored guests sit in central positions, while others occupy seats according to rank and relationship with the host. Every placement, Every dish and every detail is deliberate, reflecting both status and etiquette. Banquets in Rome were more than meals. They were social rituals. Music and poetry often accompanied the courses, creating an atmosphere of sophistication. Servants moved quietly, bringing new dishes, pouring wine, and attending to every need. The wealthy did not simply eat. They entertained, conversed, and observed. The act of dining was intertwined with politics, social relationships, and the display of wealth. A typical Roman banquet began with light appetizers. Olives, cheeses, fruits, and nuts were served first, awakening the senses. Next came the main courses: roasted meats, spiced fish, stews with multiple ingredients, and sometimes exotic animals from distant lands. Each dish was carefully prepared, seasoned with imported spices from Egypt, India, or Asia Minor. The richness of the meal reflected the host's connections and resources, as well as the cosmopolitan nature of the Roman Empire. Wine flowed freely but was always mixed with water, sweetened with honey or flavored with herbs. It complemented the elaborate courses. Toasting was an essential part of the ritual, and the host often led the conversation with anecdotes, poetry, or philosophical discussions. Overindulgence was frowned upon in formal settings. Even in abundance, restraint was admired. Desserts followed the main courses, including honey cakes, fruits, and sweet pastries. Some banquets also featured rare delicacies such as stuffed dormice or peacock, reserved for the most extravagant events. Feasts could last for hours, with entertainment ranging from music and dancing to dramatic performances. Banquets were an immersive experience where every sense, taste, smell, sight, and sound was engaged. Roman festivals took these banquets to an even higher level. During religious or civic celebrations, entire neighborhoods might join in public feasts. Special foods, symbolic of abundance and divine favor, were prepared in large quantities. These communal meals reinforced social bonds, loyalty, and a sense of shared identity. Even the preparation of the food, from sourcing rare ingredients to presenting them beautifully, was a reflection of the host's dedication and prestige. The etiquette of banquets was strictly observed. Guests were expected to arrive on time, dress appropriately, and engage in polite conversation. Seating arrangements, the order of serving, and the way one handled food and wine were all part of the ritual. Even the smallest gestures, like how a dish was received or shared, communicated respect, humility, or social ambition. Despite the extravagance, these feasts were also a mirror of Roman values. They emphasized hierarchy, social cohesion, and appreciation for fine craftsmanship. From the cooking to the tableware and even the architecture of the dining room, a banquet was a lesson in refinement, teaching both the host and guests how to appreciate abundance responsibly and gracefully. It is easy to imagine the grandeur. Long tables filled with silver platters, the fragrance of spiced meats, the laughter of friends and family, the soft music of flutes, and servants moving silently between the guests. These moments were carefully curated, creating memories that symbolized prestige and power. For centuries, they also influenced European dining culture, setting standards for etiquette, variety, and presentation. Banquets were not only for pleasure, they were strategic. A host might invite influential friends or political allies, using the feast to strengthen bonds, negotiate favors, or display loyalty. The foods chosen, the order of service, and even who sat where were subtle messages of social dynamics. In this sense, every Roman banquet was a theater, where cuisine, conversation, and performance intertwined. The connection between food and culture was evident in every bite. Grains, vegetables, fruits, meat, fish, and wine came together to form an orchestra of flavors. Imported spices and delicacies added exotic notes, showing the vastness and diversity of the empire. Every meal told a story of trade, conquest, innovation, and daily life. Even for the wealthiest Romans, there was rhythm and pacing. Courses were served gradually, allowing guests to enjoy each flavor and aroma. Conversation flowed between bites, as stories, jokes, and philosophical thoughts were shared. In a way, banquets were a lesson in mindfulness, savoring the food, the company, and the environment in measured moments. And as you imagine these grand feasts, picture the calm of the lamplit dining hall, the gentle clinking of cups, and the soft murmur of conversation. Even in abundance, there was a certain serenity in the ritual, a rhythm that balanced indulgence with etiquette, luxury with order. It is this balance that brings a sense of calm, much like the quiet moments of everyday life, centuries later. Now, as you drift towards sleep, imagine yourself in the soft glow of a Roman banquet hall. The richness of food, the elegance of the surroundings, and the calm murmur of guests all combine to create a serene atmosphere. Even amidst extravagance, there is peace, the kind of gentle comfort that carries you into rest. This was the essence of Roman feasting: abundance tempered with grace, social harmony, and mindful enjoyment. And as the lamps flicker softly and the evening winds down, you can almost hear the last sip of wine, the final laugh shared among friends, and the subtle satisfaction of a meal well enjoyed. It is a world both grand and calm, a perfect reflection of culture, ritual, and human connection. Centuries later, we can still imagine that serenity, allowing it to lull us into a quiet, restful sleep.